Welcome to the Security Cocktail Hour. I'm Joe Patty.
I'm Adam Roth.
Adam, we are truly blessed today because we have not only a kindred spirit in terms of a fellow cyber professional, but we have a fellow podcaster on also, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's been giving us some mentoring. Joe, you're going to pay the check for that one because he's given us some really good advice.
Yeah, we have Joe South. Joe, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's going great, and thanks. Seriously, we really have been talking to Joe a lot. You have, you said what, 100,000 subscribers?
Yeah, I'm at 132,000 subs on YouTube.
132,000.
Yeah.
Close, we're close.
Yeah, we're real close.
Just so the audience knows, moving forward, I will be calling Joe South, and Joe Patty, because I can't just say Joe.
Yeah, it'll confuse.
Yeah, that'll work. And Joe, your show is Security Unfiltered, right?
Yep. Yeah, Security Unfiltered podcast.
Okay, and you've been doing that for a while at this point, couple of years,
5 years.
Right?
I think
5
next week is
years.
5 years, yeah.
Whoa. We're coming up on 3 years. I thought we were like hot and we just hit a subscriber milestone, but you're just like way past us. Well done.
It's a lot of trial and error and being willing to fail quick and adjust, just as quick, right? So a lot of trying stuff out. I mean, my audience that have been with me since the beginning, I had a terrible camera, my audio and video would cut out all the time. It was such a mess, But now I feel like I have it mostly figured out, for the most part. When people meet me or whatever, when I go to DEF CON, they always tell me oh, you're exactly how you are on the podcast. And my only response is well, I don't know how to be anyone else, so what you see is what you get. I'm not putting on some front or whatever, I feel like that adds to the uniqueness almost, because at least with my podcast, I do just about no editing, I should probably put more effort into it, but I still feel like if I do too much editing, it takes away from the guest, that took their time to come on my podcast, tell their story, and now I'm chopping up their story to fit whatever, agenda I have, right?
Well, I think you're right, Joe, because, I did something where usually I do the same thing. I mean, I just cut out the gaps and the coughs and stuff like that. But I did one where I said, let me mix it up. I'm using AI. It's telling me put the exciting things up, do the hook, do all this. And I chopped one up and put it up together. And I said, oh, this is good. This is going to really hold the audience. Made no difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'm back to your method.
Yeah. This is something that I'm still trying to figure out for the most part, where I've done the stuff that AI tells me to do, right? And it doesn't really make a change at all.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too. So, yeah.
I feel like the longer form podcasts are, they're kind of like how I consume longer form podcasts. I'll consume, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, when I can. I feel like most people are probably like that. And then the clips, that's where you get higher retention, when you're posting just 5 to 15 minute long clips of that episode, that's time stamped, and now they're going to that longer episode for maybe seeing what else is there, right?
Oh, is that right? I do know, and I understand if you do the clips, and I know even from watching YouTube myself, you see something that's 5 minutes, you're like, okay, I'll watch this, you get it.
Yeah.
But you're actually getting people from there going to the full length episode, because I've tried that with shorts and it didn't work with shorts. People look at the clip, they're like, those shorts, they're like, yeah, whatever, next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I am seeing it a bit. I mean, it takes a while, I feel like people have to get used to how you do content to some extent, right? And then you're still figuring it out on your own, I'm a real big stats guy, right? So I look at other people like Joe Rogan, for instance, right? I mean, I've been following Joe Rogan since the very beginning, in his early UFC days when he didn't even get paid to do it.
Oh, wow.
And he even said, he's like, I didn't make any money for like 7, 8, maybe 10 years of doing the podcast. Like he was making
long?
like nothing,
Oh.
nothing that like he cared about, which I guess that's subjective, right? But he literally said in one of his episodes, he's like, I didn't check anything. I didn't like look at any money or anything like that for probably 9 years,
Jeez.
So for me to be where I'm at, like 5 years in, like I'm fine with that. Jack Resider actually told me the same thing from the Darknet Diaries, where he literally said he didn't even like make money from it for like 7 years. There's hundreds of episodes that he's done that will never see the day of light, or the light of day, right? I haven't been drinking yet, so.
Well, Joe, you know what? We're going to introduce you to one of the things we bring to podcasting, which is drinking, of course. So you called it as our esteemed guest. We're doing whiskey today.
Yeah, we're doing whiskey.
Except for Adam, who's too fancy for whiskey. He's got champagne.
What a loser! A champagne.
I know. He pulls that out before we're recording. I'm like, so you got a bottle of whiskey?
Terrible.
He goes, no, champagne. I know. Wow.
That's
I'm
terrible.
sorry.
I hate champagne. I didn't even have champagne at my wedding. Like they gave it to me,
No?
and I like spit it out. I was like, "What the hell?"
Jeez. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
well, in any case,
I hate it.
Isn't this good?
cheers.
Isn't this a good?
Welcome to the show.
Isn't this a good brand?
Yes, that's actually good.
I don't know anything
I
about.
think. Wait, or is that another?
know
I
anything.
don't know. Whatever. Well, this is a good thing I got here. So
Yeah, I got Weller 12.
12.
Cool.
I don't know that one actually. I have so much to learn from you, Joe. It's crazy, even when it comes to liquor.
So, South, what do you do for your day job?
cheers.
I think that's. I'm curious to that.
Yeah. So my day job, I can actually like say what I do now, because the owner like told me, he's like, hey, you can put it on LinkedIn. But for my day job, I'm the director of cloud and AI security at Abira Security. A lot of professional services, a lot of VAR reseller sort of stuff, but I take it from the approach of like I was in their shoes for 12 years, right? I was on the security engineering in the trenches. I was a security architect. No one was listening to me or anything. So I always approach it from that angle. So when I refer someone to a product or something, like it's typically like, hey, I've literally deployed this thing. You don't want that other, maybe more shiny thing. You want this other tool, and it'll get the job done and you'll love it.
Oh, so you went over to the dark side. You were one of us. Then you went to a vendor. Okay.
I need.
No wonder they want advertising on your podcast. Yeah.
It's free advertising.
Yeah.
Are they a sponsor?
I wish. Trying to convince them, but
yeah, they're sponsoring your mortgage, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, sponsoring my living.
You know what I find interesting, South? You and I have a crossover where we both are going for our dissertation. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It was just sheer coincidence that we both go to the same school. Though I'm not going to say who it is, but I'll say the role. I told the dean of the college, we were talking about how to get people to do interviews from a qualitative study, and I said, hey, doctor, what if I go to the UN, sit outside in a van, and I black bag the people from that organization in order to get them to do interviews? He goes, I'm going to recommend that you don't do that.
Yeah.
Because what I'm doing basically based on NATO. He's like, no, I would never do that. But the point I was making is, you know how hard it is to get interviews with people from NATO?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's difficult, man. Like I tell everyone, like if I knew how hard a PhD was before going into it, I never would have gone into it. But like I have a problem where like I don't give up very easily.
Yeah.
So
apparently not. So
I'm 3 chapters in out of 5, right? And my chair was actually bugging me earlier. He's like, "Hey, send me chapter 4." I'm like, "Man, I haven't even started yet." Like,
I'm not going to embarrass myself and tell you what chapter I'm on, but I'll tell you this. I'm like, Joe, I got to tell Patty, I got to go. I have to. I have to do my homework. I have another 3 hours to go. It's just nonstop, and I'm not asking anybody to cry for me. I'm just telling people be careful if you go for it.
Yeah.
I ripped my hair out.
Yeah,
That's why.
it's challenging, man.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I mean, and it doesn't help that, like, you know, you go through all this schooling to get to this point to where, like, you could even apply to a PhD program. And as soon as you get into the program, everything is completely different from how you were taught for the last 20 years of school. You know, like, everything is different. My master's thesis was like, you know, 45 pages long or whatever. I mean, you look at my dissertation and like chapter 1 is like 50 pages, you know?
And that's supposed to be like under 30.
And I thought it was
crazy.
too long, you know?
It's funny because our school, well, I mean, I guess we can say it and shout out to it because it's on our LinkedIn, but it's Capital Tech University. And they're in Maryland, and they're like situated between Washington, D.C., and the school is well known for aviation. It's funny, like when you sit in there, you don't realize how many three-letter agency people that came out of this school. That's their claim to fame. They CIA, FBI, NSA. What's that other agency, Joe, that's not as well known that people don't like that you work for?
Yeah, that's the cool one, DIA. Okay,
Yeah.
Only the cool people know about it.
Well, you know how they started the university, right?
Navy radio guy.
Well, it was mainly because the NSA and NASA couldn't find viable talent in the industry. And so they said, well, we have to like literally create a university to teach these people how we want them to be taught, because we're hiring people and then it takes them 2 or 3 years for them to get up to speed on just basic stuff in this field. And so that's where CapTech came from. And that's why like a lot of the professors are like literally from the NSA and the FBI and CIA. Like a lot of those guys are from, like, I had one forensics professor. She was from like Symantec, you know, like the team that was in charge of like, you know, reverse engineering Stuxnet and stuff and all this stuff. Is like, oh my gosh, like you've forgotten more on this topic than I'll ever know. You know?
By the way, Seth, I tried recruiting those 2 guys for this podcast 3 times from the Semantic Stuxnet movie.
Oh, I tried to, yeah. They don't respond.
They won't even answer me.
Yeah, they don't respond. But I could talk to the CIA guy that may or may not have deployed Stuxnet himself into the network. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, we're not that cool.
I can talk to that guy, but I can't talk to Symantec.
We're not that cool, but we have a lot of former 8200 people on. And they were working for 8200 during Stuxnet. Whether or not they did it, they'll never tell us. I used to joke with them because we did purple teams with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, I'm just curious. If I wanted to put malware into a PLC, how would I do that? And they were like, why are you asking us, Adam? And I'm like, if I wanted to turn on a phone for SIP, if I wanted to listen in on a boardroom meeting in a hotel, how would you do that? They go like, where are you coming up with this stuff? But they knew what I meant.
They know.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah. So Joe, what's your dissertation? What are you working on?
Yeah, I'm working on deploying the Zero Trust framework onto communication satellites to prepare them for post-quantum encryption.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool, and dude, that's a lot of buzzwords right there. That's pretty impressive. You're going to win in the keyword search there. Yeah, there's got to be a job for it.
Yeah, right. That's my thought, at least.
Yeah, like Adam was saying, we've talked to people in space, and we did an episode quite a while ago. I think it was with Tom Cross, where we talked about satellite hacking and satellite security. That was maybe 2 years ago, and I remember just being amazed and appalled at the lack of security and how, I don't want to say backwards, but they were back like bordering on telnet stuff. Like the stuff was so basic.
Yeah.
Is it still like that? I mean, I guess you're going to change it when you get your doctorate, but
see, like this is the problem. It's a little bit better, but as soon as you launch a satellite into space, it's immediately like outdated.
It's fixed.
Like good luck patching it,
we just released an episode with Renee Wynn, the CIO, a former CIO of NASA, and like Joe Patty's claim to fame is putting out, yes, the Mars rover didn't have MFA by design, but like it's true though, right? You have to be very careful. And then I asked Renee Wynn, like when you have problems with the Wi-Fi on the ISS, how does the help desk get to them to service it?
It's probably like them. It's probably the astronauts, up there.
And then I said,
they better be good IT guys.
And then I asked her, I said, like, do you share the Wi-Fi password with the cosmonaut?
Probably have to.
Yeah. Yeah, but Joe, so, wow. That's interesting, because if you're talking like, post-quantum encryption and stuff, that's cutting edge. And like you say, once it goes up, I guess it's kind of the ultimate IoT thing, that things don't get patched. I mean, What's the state of the art there? Is it going into the newer ones, going up? Has it been, or?
What do you mean, like the newest security like features and everything?
Yeah, like with a new satellite, are they going to have like something, the post-quantum encryption, or are they current, or are they like, back on like SSL 1.0? I mean, what are we talking about?
I guess it would depend on what kind of communication you're actually talking about. If you're talking about satellite to satellite, it's probably a little bit more secure, like a TLS, 1.2, let's just say at that grade, because there's proprietary like Ka bands and all this other stuff that they're communicating over.
That's reasonable.
If you're talking about like, from Earth to the satellite, the security is mostly around the mechanisms that they use to actually get to the satellite rather than the communication itself. So that's where they base more of it.
In security through obscurity, is that what we're talking about?
Not quite. So essentially the satellite will only be allowed to talk to, certain ground stations, right? And the ground station will, typically have a key with it that can talk to the satellite.
It does. Okay.
But then they secure everything, on the ground, right? So they're securing the systems. They're securing the person. Like they need a CAC card to get into the computer to then, authenticate an MFA and being able to allow to identify the satellite and send, different communications to it and whatnot. So that's where they secure it mostly. And I actually had my former chair. He was an Air Force guy that all that he did was satellites for the Air Force, and then they broke off into Space Force, and he was doing that. And he literally told me, like, one of our first calls is like, he was walking me through the process of like the ground stations and whatnot, communicating to the satellites. And I was like, so if I just get something that focuses like my antenna straight at a satellite, could I get to it? And he's like, well, yeah, there's technically nothing keeping you from it. You have to time it really precisely, but you could theoretically do it. And I was like, so what's going to protect me from like getting into it? He goes, nothing. Like,
oh, wow.
If you want to get into it, you're going to get into it.
No, but wait. So I got sued for what they claim me reverse engineering this encryption for a certain paid satellite service, and the encryption 15-20 years ago is more sophisticated than it for like cable type of satellite than it is for the satellites today, is what you're saying, basically.
It's probably the same. I would call it the same level of security.
Look, I don't know if I have a cool dissertation. Like, I just want to say my dissertation. You tell me whether or not it's cool. I don't know if mine's cool. Right now, for the first 10 seconds, it's right about me. So I'm going to read it. Cyber warfare and the implications of not instituting treaties within NATO to promote ethical engagements.
That's the title?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was the whole dissertation right there.
Oh, shit. So, and it's funny, right? Because we're almost kind of saying the same thing, like, South. What's happening now is, like, with Renee Wynn, we're talking about satellites in space is kind of dangerous because, even adversarial countries will position their satellites in between ours in order to cause havoc. So there's no control. But the question is that ethical? And with what I'm talking about is NATO, is more about cyber warfare. But if one satellite is attacking another satellite near proximity, or using targeting to shut down the antennas, is that ethical? Is it going to cause problems? So, planes, because everything is depending on satellites for GPS.
Yeah.
Well,
Even
I would
financial transactions at some point route through a satellite.
People don't realize how much stuff goes through satellites. Her thing was when they was like these dating apps like Tinder and everything else. You depend on that to find the person near you, But it also depends on crops and water and flying. So GPS is a major part of almost everything that we do today.
So, Joe, let me ask you. I mean, talking about these things, when I think of satellites and communication satellites, I think I'm like too old. I think of like those big, huge things that stay up there for 30 years with all these things.
Yeah.
But then I hear they got these like tiny micro ones too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those little ones, do they have a shorter life where, they're going to be replaced more often? Because I hear like some of them are like the size of a soda can, or they're like a shoebox or something.
Yeah, I think their expected lifespan is like 10 to 12 years, but they typically last longer. It's factoring in things like, getting hit by like space debris or whatever.
Yeah, it's a big thing too now.
That's like that's probably like the biggest problem. But yeah, like the satellites, I thought that the satellites were like as big as my room, when I was like going into it. But no, it's like a CubeSat satellite is the most common form of satellite. And it's literally anywhere between like 3 U's and 12 U's of space on a server rack. That's exactly what it is.
So HU I think is what, 1.75 for those who don't know, inches approximately?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, but still, even with 10 to 12 years, I mean, from a security standpoint, from a security technology standpoint, that's an eternity. Think of what we were doing 12 years ago.
Look at that, Joe.
Imagine trying to maintain that security, 10, 12 years ago, MFA wasn't deployed everywhere. I mean, even today, MFA wasn't deployed everywhere, but like, it's a lot more deployed. So like, that's why, like, I spent a year like looking at basically all of the different attack paths, and everything that you could do is essentially too lengthy of a process, too power hungry, too, processing time hungry on a satellite to secure it, through all the operations that you have to do. So like the only thing, at least that I'm aware of, and I've confirmed this with quite a few experts in the field that know a lot more than me, is to basically authenticate each individual component of the device, store that on what would be basically a TPM chip, and re-authenticate it every so often. So like you develop a key for all the components, you verify that key with the TPM chip. If it doesn't match up, the satellite's removed out of communication with the rest of the ring. And then, future state would be like implementing blockchain, right? So, hey, you pass the authentication, now you get into the blockchain. If you're not in the blockchain, then you can't communicate to a different hierarchy of satellites and whatnot.
Well, so the model basically says it's a mesh network. It's a distributed system.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it works around the.
It's a distributed
with
system within the system, and then it's distributed within the orbit, and then it's distributed within the higher orbit to provide like higher level authentication.
And that's how we understood it, right? Because all the satellites are orbiting and they're communicating to each other around the planet. And if something gets in that orbit, like another satellite, that's what causes havoc. But let's put things in perspective. The Apollo missions, right? They were like 4K or 16K. I don't even know what it was, but it's ridiculous. Now you can fit a whole entire Raspberry Pi in a satellite and have more computing power of hundreds of Apollo missions.
Yeah. But Joe, what you said is interesting about the power thing. I know there are power limitations, and I just never thought of it. Like, I guess that limits encryption that you can do, hashing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know someone listening will like kill me for it, but I can't remember the exact like number. It's like less than 3 watts of operation, like time and
Nothing.
performance, you know? So it's like you have to have something where when you do it, it's not that hard on the system, and you don't have to do it very frequently because it needs to be able to communicate very quickly. Right. And so like the thing that I'm proposing is actually like if there's a satellite that gets in between, you know, our satellite and another satellite that we're trying to talk to, like it doesn't even matter. Right now, that opposing satellite could like jam and it could, you know, try and intercept the communications and all this other stuff. With my method, like it'll literally just basically ask for the authentication. If it can't do it, it'll be like, all right, well, I can't talk to you. Then it'll check the other side.
So it really is a
They're
zero trust
authenticating
thing,
themselves.
like you
Yeah.
said.
They authenticate
zero
themselves
trust.
within themselves.
And then are you talking about something there when, you know, you have something that fails authentication, then that propagates through the whole network of don't trust this guy, he's
Yep.
out.
Yep.
Oh, and I guess that saves.
That's also a part of
resource
like
too.
the blockchain part, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where it's
So,
like
yeah.
you
Very
hit that
cool.
list, you know, you're not talking to anyone else. You can still be up there, but you're not talking to anyone else.
So let me ask you this from redundancy. So if you're saying this is the Earth,
Mhm.
and there's X amount of satellites that are circulating the Earth, and it tries to communicate one way, but it can't because it's being blocked. It communicates the other way like a sonnet. It reverses the direction.
It could, yeah. There's no reason why it can't. It'll just have
More latency.
antennas on both sides, essentially.
Well, that's interesting. Gosh. Wow. Huh. You know, it's interesting when hearing some of these things, you know, in these areas that we're not used to. You know, I start to say, oh, yeah, like Adam said, yeah, that reminds me of Sonnet. Yeah, that reminds me of this old thing. Some of these old things, they're like, oh, that's still used.
That shows you how
somewhere.
old I am.
That's kind of cool.
I said sonnet, right? That makes me
Yeah,
like
I know.
67
Yeah.
years old.
Oh,
It's interesting. I mean, we'll see if I can pull it off, you know. I don't know. I feel like it's going to go like into a theory area. Like I have my theory and it's like, hey, I did everything to prove out the theory, but you still got to test it on a real satellite.
yeah. How do you do that? I mean, is there a way to
Yeah.
get time to get stuff?
So you could get time, but you have to spend a lot of money. It's like $10,000 a minute or something is what they charge. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah. Well, you've got podcast sponsors. Come on. There you go.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Yeah, go for a GoFundMe page to do your dissertation
Right.
research.
Do it live.
Yeah. There used to be this one thing that one of the villages at DEF CON put on called like Hackasat, where they actually launched a satellite into space and, you know, hackers could go and hack it and learn about it and everything like that. But it was so expensive for them to keep it up and running that it no longer runs. And it was actually in one of my documentations, like my ARB or my IRB, saying like, I'm going to test it here and then I'm going to go to the Hackasat and I'll test it there. And like, sure enough, by the time my IRB got approved, it was like already no longer a thing. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, that's a bummer.
So
Gosh.
what type of study is it? Qualitative, quantitative, mixed?
It's mixed.
So, oh my God! So Patty, just so you know,
I bit off too much.
there's two type of studies.
Yeah.
Is qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is more about interviews. Quantitative is more about stats and numbers. Mixed doesn't exist unless you're a crazy.
Yeah.
Every professor
Yeah.
tells you never do a mixed study.
Do that.
Never do it. Like it's like I will bitch slap you if you do a mixed study. You have to sell the professor your doctoral person that's managing you. You have to sell them on a mixed study. Like you have to like beg them.
Never
Yeah.
get on the freeway. It's suicide.
I wish they would have told me that.
Oh,
didn't-
they told us that.
They didn't even tell me that. Yeah, it was just,
I think they told you that after Joe got started with his experience. I don't
yeah.
know.
They're like, hey, this idiot's never going to finish. Don't do it, you know?
So Pat, just so you know, they like the only thing worse than doing, and I say this respectfully to all my colleagues and cohorts. The only thing worse than doing a mixed study is becoming a serial PhD DSC. We have people who have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doctorates.
What? Why?
Yes, because they do it. There's people who do serial doctorates. He knows this. South knows this.
I don't understand it. They must be like getting them for free or something. you know?
Because like
Yeah.
2 doctorates will probably put you close to $80,000 or to $100,000 by the time you're done. So if
Well,
you're
yeah.
doing 7 of them, the only difference is once you do the second doctorate or third doctorate, and it also depends, PhD versus DSc. A PhD being the standard, more American. DSc is more European. It's a doctorate of science, and I have a C for cybersecurity. But if you do more than one, like you do 2 or 3, but you don't have to repeat all the classes, you can just do the research.
Still a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a
And
lot.
I mean, if you're always getting a new one, are you using your existing
That's
Yeah,
the
what's the
no,
argument.
return on
skills? I mean-
value, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always tell people, like on my podcast, is like, you know, you should be factoring in the return on investment that you do with whatever education path you go down. You know, like and I literally did this math like with my wife. We were dating at the time, and she was contemplating getting a master's. And she, you know, is happy that she ended up doing it. But you have to factor in what the market is like, what the job market is like, right? Like, is this thing always in demand? Is it not? If it's not in demand, there's probably no point in getting it. You have to factor in how much you're going to spend, what the loan's going to be, what the interest rate will likely be, what the payment will likely be, and how much you're expected to make when you get it. You know, that's the only time that like it should be making sense is like when you're breaking down the numbers and you're like, okay, it offers me this. If I go on LinkedIn, how many job postings have that as a requirement?
It's
Right?
the opposite. It's the opposite. If you have a doctorate, you're probably going to have an issue getting a job unless you go into academia or government.
Yeah, it offers unique opportunities. I'll say that. I have a couple unique opportunities that if I wasn't in the process for a PhD, wouldn't even make it to me.
Like in
Yeah, go ahead.
like in IT and in technology, because you know,
Yeah.
for years I've known very few PhDs, very few guys with doctorates in the field.
Yeah, there's one opportunity. It's out of like the UK, and I can't name it or anything, or really even give you that many details with it. But I had him on my podcast, and literally the last 5 minutes of the podcast, I said I was getting my PhD and told him what it was in, and he goes, "You do understand that there's like maybe 7 other people on the planet with that sort of specialty, and you know I can't find any of them, and I need one." I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
cool.
So you did a
Okay.
job interview on your podcast.
That's right. You got a job offer on your podcast? That's cool,
yeah,
man.
basically."
So
Wow.
the only return on investment so far on my doctorate is I've gotten some really good people out of Capital Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've gotten some good podcast guests out of it, but
So I'm looking for Joe, Patty, to help me pay that back with the podcast.
I'm looking for my podcast to pay it back too.
yeah, really.
I
Oh,
mean,
gosh.
for me, what it ended up being is because I have such a relevant dissertation, provided I complete it. You know, it'll be like CNN,
Mhm.
MSNBC, Fox News. You know, I'm joking, but like, I spoke to Patty about this. I'm probably going to try to see if I can do some talks. I mean, I've gone to some conferences recently, not specifically about that, but you know, talking about cyber ethical warfare is so pertinent right now between Venezuela and U.S., you know, Russia and Ukraine, and
Yeah.
all these other countries that are having. And what we haven't figured out yet, this is my plug for my dissertation, is we talk about radiological, biological, chemical, kinetic attacks, and there's treaties for everything. We talk about Article 4 on how if the sovereignty of a nation's security is breached, does that rise to that level? And if it does it go into NATO Article 5, which is an attack on one, attack on all? Fortunately, we have not had, at least that I know of, an actual cyber war attack. We've had cyber attacks, but does it rise to the level of cyber war where a country is going to go after another country because they got attacked cyber-wise? And then it goes back to attribution. So I think it's relevant.
I mean, we may have seen some of that when Russia invaded Ukraine,
But it was hybrid.
right?
It's hybrid.
It was, but
Turning the power off.
yeah, I mean, well, you know, like obviously Russia, you know, did some pretty big cyber attacks on Ukraine and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But then, as in return, I mean, there was hacker groups all over the world
Proxies.
targeting Russian services, you know, all over the place. So it's like, to some extent, that's already happened too. And whenever we go into a country, I mean, when we went into Iraq, right, like all those years ago, when we went into Iraq, if you like read the reports and whatnot, I mean, we turned off the power for months. We turned off the water. Like, none of that stuff was coming back on. We literally did it weeks before we invaded.
But not once.
We did. I actually didn't know that. I thought that was like not the first. I think we hit the military stuff first, but then I thought they hit the infrastructure later.
We intercepted all their communications for weeks. For weeks, we had it all.
But my question to you, South, and obviously to Patty, right, is in order for us to consider something a cyber war, one nation has to attack another nation predominantly based on cyber, and then the other country has to say, you just attacked us. We can show attribution. We're coming after you, and that becomes a cyber war other than a cyber attack. So that's the thing that I have a hard time differentiating between cyber attack and cyber war. A kinetic war is I'm shooting, I'm launching missiles, is attribution. And we can say the same thing about drones, right? Mm-hmm. You can do so much. It's not just physical attacks. It's you can intercept data, put Wi-Fi's. You can get signals intelligence. You can get there's so much you can do. Get surveillance. So it's not just about physical attacks and arming these drones. And I'm not talking about military drones. I'm talking about more consumer drones.
That brings up an interesting thought, Joe, because, you know, in talking about the drones, a lot of them is, you know, they deliver a payload. They deliver something for, you know, surveillance, for, you know, hacking, whatever. Is there anything of that going in the satellite world? I mean, I know you talk about some interference and some stuff, but I mean, are some of the things up there, you know, surveillance of other satellites that they're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's, you know, China and Russia have been doing quite a lot of that. I'm sure we're doing it too. You know, but they'll send up different satellites and try and identify the bands that, you know, other rival satellite nations are having and communicating with it and everything. That's when they start to try and, you know, intercept and not necessarily block. They're trying to be like a man in the middle, you know, because it's like fairly easy to do it if there's a mistake, if you're not paying attention to like what you're sending or how you're authenticating and whatnot. You know, like it's fairly easy to do it. You just get physically in between two satellites.
It's like having a Hack-5 pineapple. You're getting the interception, you're getting the data, and then you send it back to the destination. But here's the irony about all this too. We talk about satellites, we talk about drones. If you are able to compromise a satellite that has GPS, you've in essence compromised the drones, because the drones are using GPS in order to navigate.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all going to start like beginning, you know, in satellites first. Like the next major conflict, it's all going to start in the satellites. You know, like Russia, very shortly after they invaded Ukraine, I think it was like 7 days after or something like that, they did their Viasat hack. You know, took down GPS for the region, right? Like had massive consequences that weren't really quite realized, but then everyone was like, oh, wait a minute, this is a big problem. This is like a really big problem. And then I think Russia kind of backed off of it, you know, because I feel like they probably thought that they were going to get through, you know, Ukraine like as quickly as possible within a week or two. And then when they realized it was going beyond that, they're like, well, we can't take GPS down for this long of time, you know?
Well, do you happen to know? I have no idea. Does Russia use the GPS, or do they have their own system too? So I know there's a European system too, isn't there? At least I thought.
You know, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think that they're all just based off of the same thing. It might just be different technology that they're using, you know? But it's the same thing at the end of the day.
Someone put that in the comments, please.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's gonna like torch
say,
me in the
no.
comments. Like,
no,
this
That's
guy's
fine.
getting a PhD and he's an idiot. You know, he doesn't know
we've
this.
said I don't know about you, but I've said I love hate mail. I'll take anything. We'll take any
look, there's
engagement.
no way all of us could be experts about every aspect of it. But I'll tell you this: if somebody has an understanding about European GPS and wants to come on the podcast for satellite and discuss that,
Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll have them come on too. We're gonna do a whole entire panel. We'll bring you back on, South. We'll bring on Tom Cross. Well, maybe even Renee Wynn. Joe Patty will be editing for 16 months.
Oh, and we've done boxing. We got a gym. It's like, Joe, we can face you off in the ring against someone. You know, no problem.
Right.
We'll do it.
I already got my ass kicked on a podcast.
I wouldn't mind the physical gym. I've done jujitsu and wrestling, so I'm used to getting choked out and put in uncomfortable positions.
You want to laugh? Go look at a couple of the after hours where I'm boxing against my trainer. He's about 1/3 my size, beating the shit out of me. It's all good.
Well, you've got like 30 years on him too. I mean, Adam, they do a couple of short rounds. Adam looks like he's dying. And then Sal, who's the trainer, who's a great guy. He's there like, oh yeah, I think I got to go do this. Just like walks off with whatever,
Well,
like not even sweating.
I've lost probably 25 pounds since though too. So.
Oh wow. I mean, whatever it takes, gotta watch the weight. Unfortunately,
I want to see Patty go in the ring.
You don't want to see me go in the ring because I'm not going to get in the ring. I've told you because.
I got hit by the mic. Good.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hit myself with the mic. Because I'm not in shape for it, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I have too much respect to get into the ring.
I'm not in shape, Joe. Well, I'm fat, but what's funny? I'll tell you this, South. Like we talk about how to do podcasts and stuff. I'm like, I'll come up like, hey, why don't we do a podcast on me getting in the ring, getting my ass kicked? He's like, no. He's like, you know what? Let's do it, Adam. Like, I come up with these crazy ideas.
Well, you want to stop over it. And Joe, I'll tell you, we started out with audio. I don't know. Did you start out with audio or did you always do video? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so we start out with audio. Then after maybe 6 or 7 episodes, we're like, okay, we'll switch to video. And, it's not that simple. We got all these things to deal with. So we switch to video. We do like one video episode and Adam goes, yeah, let's go to my gym. Let's get with Sal. We'll box him. We'll do all this stuff. And I go, Adam, we just went from audio only, in our little home offices, whatever. And now you want to do like a 4-camera location shoot. All right. Well, Joe, I'll tell you, boy, time flies.
Yeah,
we're having a good discussion. This is
yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic conversation so far for sure.
So, I feel like both Patty and I need a little bit of advice and coaching here. Like, what should we do to get closer to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I would say, you're doing the right things for sure, and I would just always look for ways, to improve. Right, like one year I improved my lighting, and this year I improved my camera. Got a new 4K camera. Right.
Yeah, that's really subtle, Adam. Lighting and camera.
Yeah.
Good.
Next year, I'll tell you.
Those are big ones.
So here. Next year, I'm improving my attitude.
That sounds more far-fetched than you improving your lighting or camera.
Yeah, really. We'll do better with the technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing that Patty and I have realized. If you keep at it and you're persistent, you will grow. But it's going to be like small spurts and then a large spurt. Small spurts and a large spurt.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I tell everyone, even with my podcast, right? I'm very persistent. Every year, this past year was the first year that I didn't sit down and say, am I going to continue doing my podcast? Every other year I've asked myself that question, but I'm very persistent. I fully believe if you keep on knocking, they're going to answer the door eventually. And they're either going to say yes or no. And if it's no, you go to the next door, just plain and simple. I'll send people emails and I feel so bad. And I tell them in the email, if you tell me yes or no, the emails stop, right? Like it stops. Just give me an answer. And some people get it and some people don't, and I don't get it. I guess I'm very hard headed, right? But like, if I email you, if I message you, like I kind of expect a response, of some sort.
Well, you sound just like Adam, because he says exactly the same thing. You gotta keep at it. And for us keeping at it, I do this because I want to give back, but also we enjoy it, obviously.
Look, at the end of the day, Patty and I have come to a point where we've realized that a lot of things are tied together, and we have a consulting company that we're looking hopefully to grow. If I told you it was all about giving back, I would be lying. It's also about making money, but not making money where I want to buy a Porsche or a Corvette or or $20 million house. I don't care about that. I really don't. What I do care about is being self-sufficient with a salary that allows me to do what I really enjoy. And that's where Joe, Patty, and I are aligned. We believe that we have a lot to offer. It's just going to take some time. So but we've never wanted to quit, Joe or Patty, right?
Well, the only thing better than doing something that you really enjoy is doing something you really enjoy and making a living off it.
Making a living. That's what I'm getting at. That's exactly the point.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely enjoy security overall, but like you said, like it's something totally different when you're able to be like fully self-sufficient. You're no longer beholden to, some company to pay your mortgage. Like I was in high school when '08 hit, right? And my dad lost his job overnight. He was at the company for like 20 years, lost his job overnight. We almost lost the house. Like there was times when there wasn't food in the pantry or food in the groceries, and I got a younger brother and a younger sister, and so like I learned very young, it's like, oh, okay, if I want to have clothes for school this year, I need to go get a job. If I want to eat, I need to go over to a friend's house, or I need to go like find some food, like that's what it was for me. And so now, ever since then, especially now that I have kids, it's like, okay, well, like I can't rely on my day job. Like, I'm sorry. I know you say that you're very stable, but at the end of the day, I'm a number to you. I'm just a number. I'm an expense.
Yeah.
Right. And when you determine that you can no longer pay for that expense, that expense is gone. It's plain and simple.
Joe, you've told us a lot of things and helped us out, and that may be the best advice of all for everyone. You gotta make it, find a way to make it happen yourself, or at the very least, don't count on some company or whatever being there for you. They won't be.
And it's not a knock against any company I've ever worked for, but at the end of the day, there's nobody else who's going to be an advocate for yourself except for yourself. And it's not like, look, it might not be personal. Like, oh, let's get rid of this division. Let's get rid of this department. Let's get rid of this customer. And if they have to shed it, they have to shed it. Most of these companies are publicly traded, and they have to do what they have to do to return it to the stockholders. It's not personal.
The company's number one goal is to survive at all costs. It doesn't matter if there's one person left working at the company and they have, the same customer base, and they have to refinance their debt and freaking, hire some people on to do the actual work and whatnot. Like, it doesn't matter. Their only purpose is to still remain in business. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's a reality. I mean, yeah, it's not personal, but, at the same time, a kick in the nuts is still a kick in the nuts, whether it's personal or not,
Yeah. It's not personal for them, but it's personal when you can't pay your mortgage.
Yeah, that's right. That's a problem.
For these little kids, it's like, okay,
We can agree. We're all on LinkedIn, and we all have a decent amount of followers. And we see nonstop in our feeds people like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for months and years. And it's so horrible because these are the people that really want a job. And I find myself reposting 4 or 5, 6 times a day. And I don't think anybody's ever benefited from me reposting. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be a little bit transparent. Not that I'm like a godsend. I've seen people asking for money, like a GoFundMe or something, and I've sent not a lot of money, but I've done it, and I feel like a sucker sometimes because I never want to give money on the New York City subway. But I feel like a lot of these people that are doing it are sincere. You look at their work history, assuming it's real. I feel bad for them. I feel very lucky. I have a job. My company pays me. I do the work. They pay me, and a lot of people just want to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even this week, a lot of people have asked me, like, how do you like your job and how do you like your company and all that stuff? And I'm like, hey, man, I'm employed. Like, I see LinkedIn. Like, I see what's going on out there. I'm employed. I have no complaints. Like, I like the work that I'm doing. I like the company. I like the people. I have no complaints, because I get to pay my mortgage at the end of the day. Like, that's like,
Right.
It sounds like such an old, I feel like I'm so old when I say that, right? But like, it's true. Like, there's a certain level of responsibility that you have, whether you want to admit it or not, when you have kids.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I had a.
It'd be different if I was single in an apartment. It's like,
No, but still, at the same time, I had an interview once, and I'm not big on the corporate speak and all that, but I interviewed with a guy once, and I go through this brutal interview. It was tough, whatever, and he goes, "Why do you want to work here?" And he's like, "Why do you want to work here? What does this do for you?" And I honestly said to the guy, I said, "It's a job, right? You pay, don't you? It's like, what the hell else are you looking for? They don't like. I was lucky that he appreciated that, but at the end of the day, when you wipe all that stuff away, it's a job. You got to make a living.
I've never woke up and said, "Hey, I want to go work at this organization. This is my dream job." It's not to take away from any company I've ever worked for. I enjoy what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. There's a certain level of integrity of what I have to deliver. But at the end of the day, like when someone says, "Why do you want to work here?" It's almost like saying, "Well, would you work for free if I gave you the job?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I've had that too, where someone asked me, like, "Well, why do you want to work here?" It's like, what do you mean? Are you
exactly.
paying more? Like, that's what it is.
We're at the end of the show, I'm at the end of my drink, so I'm willing to say, it's like when they ask you that, why do you want to work here? It's almost like, okay, now's your chance to kiss my ass.
Well, that's funny you say that. I was
do
just
your
going to
best.
say, I was going to say, like, why do I want to work here? Why do you feel like you're interviewing me? I'm really good.
Right, you can flip it around too. It's like, well, why do you want to hire me?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joe, thanks so much for joining. We've had a lot of fun and we've learned a lot, which is always a good episode.
I feel like this has only been 10 minutes of recording.
Yeah. I know. It's sped by.
Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry it took way too long to get this together, but
life is life.
Worth the wait.
Yeah.
100% worth the wait. Yeah.
And everyone, don't forget, join one of Joe's many, many more subscribers than we are and check out Security Unfiltered. It's a great podcast.
And if you have time after that, check out Security Cocktail Hour.
That's right. You can watch us too. You can watch a few more of ours. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.